Unlike what most people think, objections are actually a very positive sign. One very common, important question with most sales representatives deals with handling objections. And there's a few things before I go into my favorite methods for handling objections. There's a few things that I want to point out first. Unlike what most people think, objections are actually a very positive sign. It shows engagement. In fact, if your client is completely passive, completely agreeing with everything you're saying, that's probably the worst possible scenario. It shows that they're truly not engaging with you. Anybody who's serious about making a purchase, especially one that is very expensive or very complicated, they're going to have questions. They're going to have objections. So, number one, normally objections are a good thing. Secondly, rather than having the mindset of dealing with all of the objections that come your way through a technique, I think the very best strategy for handling objections is simple sincerity. It's transparency. It's answering the root of their concern with the knowledge that you have. That is the very best objection handling technique. If you were to press me and ask me for my 4 favorite techniques that I've used over the course of my career, I would mention these. Number 1, it's called forestalling. Forestalling means that I have been doing this for so long that I know what your objections are going to be. So prior to you raising them, I'm going to bring them up as part of our dialogue, as part of our conversation. That's forestalling, okay? I'm anticipating it and then bringing it up in a frame that is better placed. It's more suited to the conversation as opposed to ending the conversation with it. The second technique is called translation or boomerang. Now, I have to warn you, this particular technique, when it works, it gives you goosebumps. When it doesn't, it is catastrophically bad. So be very careful. In my whole career of over 30 years of sales, I've only seen it used effectively about a half a dozen times. This is what it looks like. Customer says to you, Dr. J, I've got a problem with your solution. It seems way too expensive, and I just don't know that I can handle it. Here's the objection technique. Well, Dave, you're right. In fact, to be specific, we are the most expensive solution in the market. And not by just a little bit, but by an order of magnitude. And that is precisely why you want to do business with us. Now, you're hanging on the rest of that, right? So you better have a dang good reason as to why being the most expensive provider in the entire market is precisely why they should buy from you. It better be a good one. And if it's not good, you're going to crash and burn. So it's spectacular when it works, it's terrible when it doesn't. The third one is called compensation. And what that means is, let's say the same customer said, you know what, you are way too expensive. I might handle this objection by saying, you know what, you're right. We are expensive. We're one of the more expensive providers. But I want to remind you, as we were talking, we talked about the importance of delivery. We talked about the importance of durability. We talked about the importance of having excellent customer service and support. Those things also matter. What you see I'm doing here is I'm compensating for that perceived weakness by the client by emphasizing other aspects, other attributes that compensate for that weakness. So you're bringing up these other ones in a hope or an attempt to overbalance the weakness with these strengths. The fourth and final one, and I really like this, and it works in all of life. It works in your relationships with people. It works not just in sales, but it's called feel, felt, found. It works something like this. So after hearing the objection, the sales representative would say, you know, I completely understand how you feel. In fact, I've had other clients that felt the exact same way. But what they found over time was that actually the product, the solution worked exactly the way that they wanted it, or it was well worth the price, whatever the solution is. Feel, felt, found. That's the 4. So having heard my 4 favorite objection handling techniques, is there one that you've heard about that you would like me to talk about in another video? If so, put it down below in the comments.